Hi, my name is Deanne, and this is my Monogram Snowflake. I have taken some key points from 3 of Deke's techniques on lynda.com in order to put this tutorial together. However, I have created some homework. I need you to get a texture, an image of a texture or a texture that you may have created and create it into a black and white image. I have, for example, asphalt. I really like that texture, and I also have mulch. I have preferred the mulch in this case, and this is what I've used. So take a screen capture or take your very own and use it for this tutorial. Now that we have Illustrator open, go to File, Place, look for the folder and file that you want to import. Make sure Link is chosen. Mine mysteriously appears, and push Place. To add color to the placed object, go to the Appearance panel and the Fill box at the bottom of the panel, and then go to your fill option and choose a color, and you'll notice that nothing happens. We have to trick Illustrator in order to get that color to show. Keep the fill option selected and the image, go to Effect, Convert to Shape, and Rectangle. Illustrator defaults to 18 points. We're going to turn both of those to 0 and push OK. In one of Deke's techniques, he actually explains why. For now, let's just push OK. And we have the color, but we don't see the texture. Go to your Appearance panel and you'll see the opacity level. You can play around with the different opacities to see which level that you would like to use for your texture. In this case, I chose 70 and the overlay option. Again, play around because depending on the picture that you have, you could get a better effect with something different. When you're satisfied with the color and feel that you have with the texture, think about the secondary color. All we need to do is duplicate this one. We've got all of the background options in the Appearance panel. So to duplicate this, we're duplicating all of its features by holding down the Option key and clicking and dragging. That makes the second one. When you go to the Appearance panel, all you have to do is go to the Fill option and choose a secondary color. I'm going to choose green in this case. Now we're ready to start with the initials. To add text, press T for the text tool or choose the option in your toolbox. My initials happen to be DDT. Because we have two Ds, I'm going to delete one and use the Transform and Distort option to create the two Ds. I've chosen a simple font, and in a second you'll see exactly why. I like to use the stroke option in order to change the look of my font so that I have sort of a custom look. In this case, I've got the stroke at a 10 point. It's just a basic texture. I just want the smooth line, but you can change that. I've played around with several options as far as the crescendo of the stroke. I'm happy with this one. I like the quirkiness of the look. I need to ungroup these in order to deal with each letter one at a time. So by right-clicking, choose Ungroup. Go to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. Do that for each letter. We're trying to make these into shapes. Now we have too many lines. We need to smooth that out by going to Pathfinder and choose that first option. The letters are looking a little uninteresting now. Let's zoom in and play around with the spiral tool. You can get that from your toolbox and click near the area that you want to put the spiral in, and by holding down space you can move it around. If you use the up and down key, those will add more spiral, if that makes any sense, to the shape that you have. When you're happy with that placement, let go of your mouse and we're going to change around the stroke. Do the same thing that you did for the letters. Play around with the stroke and the dynamics of the shapes. I want it to be wide and kind of come to a point. I like how the swirl looks, but I want a little round ball at the end of the point. You see that sharp point? If you go to stroke, you can choose those two options to get your round point, but I've already done this several times in practice, so I've already got it selected. We're going to just get that angle lined up the way I want. If you push Shift W, you get the width tool. Follow the path at different points, and you can click and drag out either using the Alt key or without the Alt key and make the shape that you prefer. Alt key just moves one of the dots. I'm happy with this. Go to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. With the object selected, go to Command C and Command V to make the copy and play around with the next letter. It's a symmetrical letter, so I want another one. Command C, Command V to make a copy of the smaller one. To reflect, go to Object, Transform, Reflect, have Vertical chosen, and push OK. Get this lined up. You can align both by choosing both, and you'll see the options on the menu bar on the top. I need to make the T and those little swirls a group. By selecting them all, of course, now I see that my D and T are grouped. Let's ungroup them by right-clicking, choose Ungroup, and I can work individually. Select the T and the swirls, go to your Pathfinder, and do that all-inclusive option. Now I've got that shape. I'm going to do the same with the D, but something's missing. I want another swirl. I'm going to do Command V. I'm going to go back to Object, Transform, Reflect, same option of vertical, and flip that around. This is a snowflake after all, so I'm trying to make it a little more dynamic. I'm happy with this. Let's select all the swirls of the D, go to Pathfinder in that first option. Zoom out. Let's work with the textures. Take one of the letters and put it over a color. Select them both by holding down Shift and do Command 7. You've made your clipping mask. I don't like that spot in there, so double click on the letter. That allows you to work in clipping mask mode, and you can move that texture around. I like that. Double click or choose that isolation mode arrow to get out of that. Let's do the same with the D. Select the other texture by holding Shift, Command 7. That's created your next clipping mask. This part is a little tricky. Depending on the image size that you used for your texture, that's going to play a big role on how the transform effect works. But because I wanted 2 Ds, I'm going to duplicate it using Transform. Go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Transform. With the pop-up box, don't forget to select Preview, choose the right-hand dot on that grid. You need to reflect X. It's very important with this one, and do 1 copy. That way you have the original and the alternate copy showing. The angle you can keep the same. You can change that if you like. The details, the numbers aren't going to be exact. The reason the letters are so far apart is because Transform's reading that behind image, and that behind image is that original image of the texture that you used. It's basically a one of a kind. Go to OK and line those letters up in the way that you feel would work best on the snowflake arm. When you are happy with this look, we need to select everything. Click and drag on the artboard and cover everything. Choose Command G to group everything. Select the image and go to Effect and Transform. Not the first transform, but the second transform. That way you don't select the last options. We want 5 copies. That's 5 plus 1, which is the original. The degrees are going to be 60. We're taking 360 degrees in a circle and dividing that by 6, and that's where we get our number. If you want more branches, I guess, to the snowflake, then you'll need to do the math. We do not need the Reflect X because we're trying to get the branches to go all the way around. Don't forget your preview like I have. Go to that small grid and choose the center anchor point. You can select other anchor points to see if you can get a more desirable effect. Right now, though, everything is spread out. Go to your Move Dimensions and play around with those numbers in order to get everything to come closer together in a shape that's more like a snowflake.